time of the year, isn't it? Got your Christmas shopping done? Have anybody started yet? My wife will say, "You bought me this today." Cool. That's great. Yeah, that's good. And then it's a season for eating, isn't it? Holiday foods, some of my favorites. Of course, you get turkey again. And then you get Swedish meatballs, and you get all those goodies that the lefse, not the lutefisk though, other things you get too. And so at the end of the month, you've gorged yourself, and then I'm in the health club on January 2nd or January 3rd, and what do I see? Lots of new faces. Yes, and I've worked out long enough. How long have I worked out? 23 years? I don't know. Anyway, and so I see people there for about a month. And then I see fewer and fewer newer faces until I see the regular crowd again that come at 6 in the morning and do their workouts and all that kind of thing. And we all have goals of the new resolutions, New Year's resolutions, that we're going to do things better next year and be more, whatever you want to call it. I can't think of the word. Something, I don't know. Anyway, I'm saying I look at myself on disc. I'm going to stand back here more, so preaching. Now, where was I? Okay, New Year's resolutions, people deciding to become more steadfast in whatever their plans are. But we find that in our struggles to do things, it takes about, 30 days or something to do something over and over again for it to become habit. We have to practice at it in order to become part of who we are. I never played football. I never did much of anything. I did track, and that was it. But I worked out, and I just enjoyed it. I kept doing it. Now it's part of who I am. I can't go too long without it. But we as people, make ourselves goals for ourselves. Sometimes they're attainable, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we think that I want to do this and I want to do that. And as time goes on, it becomes harder and harder and more burdensome, and we just soon leave it off to the side and kind of let it go. And some things we should just let it go. Some things we shouldn't hang on to just because we're hanging on to it. But some things we should hang on to because it's meaningful to us. John had a predicament, but he dealt with it very, very well. The Pharisees and Sadducees who came to see him were looking for a way to trip him up in some ways. We don't know the mind of all the Pharisees and Sadducees. There might have been some who were looking for a way of a new life and see what John actually had to say with sincerity. Now, all Pharisees weren't bad in the first century and beyond. Sometimes our authors picture them to be pretty evil people. But keep in mind, after the temple was destroyed in around 70 A.D., then what happened to the faith? Well, the diaspora went out, and there are different synagogues throughout the countryside. And who were the rabbis of these synagogues? More than likely, the Pharisees were ones that led up to the rabbinics. And so they were the ones who carried the tradition. And so you see and hear that Jesus is pretty cross, in most cases, pretty stern with these Pharisees. Could it be, think for a moment, could it be that he was preparing them for their journeys, next journeys? That he knew deep inside that they were the ones to carry the faith in some respects. And so it's like a good teacher that will be harsh with you sometimes to make sure that you get it right. John talks about getting to the root of the matter. And we see several scripture verses that talk about the stump of Jesse and the root, the axe is the root of the trees, and let's get to the root of the problem, shall we? When you are a teacher, and I think about this when I think about preparation for Advent, preparation for the coming of God, the coming of Christ, the preparation, I think, of teachers who prepare students from 4K through however old. And I think it's not so much merely as giving the kids facts and figures and having them memorize it. That's part of it. But I think every teacher wants to instill in that student, in that child, a love for learning. That's probably more important. Get to the root of the issues. Let's get to the kids learning even after they're done with school, to love to learn. That they will read on their own, they will study on their own after it's all said and done from their school studies. And some teachers are very, very good at that. And it's very rewarding for a teacher to see that a student, the little light goes on, they get it. And even so afterwards, they're on their own. They're doing their own reading, their own research. You ask any high school kid in here, and they're reading something on their own. They're always reading something. It's beyond my level sometimes, but they're reading something usually. And it's great to see how much can be gained from that. But just getting to the heart of the matter. Jesus was trying to expose these Pharisees and get into the heart of the matter. Don't just merely say words and do something different. Make sure that your actions fit with your words. You come up with these codes of conduct. Well, live by them. And it's a charge for all of us in this Advent season is to refocus and get to the heart of the root of the matter. What does it really mean for Christmas? What are we looking forward to? What are we hoping for in the coming of Christ? We do this every year, every November, every December. We come around to this Advent season. We're hoping and praying and looking forward to this season of Christmas. The child that's going to be born to change things around for us, to make things new in our lives, to give us hope deep down, not just merely on the surface. It's like a wax on your car that'll soon fade off, that needs to be re-waxed once in a while. It's something deeper than that. The axe is lying at the root of the trees. The trees have been cut. The stump of Jesse is exposed. And we know there's stumps, sometimes roots will come around from it and grow.